With us now is the Republican congressman from Eastern Nebraska, Don Bacon. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us. You all left town for Easter with a lot of unfinished work. Do these kind of unhappy economic numbers add some urgency to getting a deal on the government shutdown, taking care of these other priorities? Are your colleagues finally ready to get going?
I do believe this coming week we'll be voting on legislation to open up all of DHS with the exception of ICE and Border Patrol, which I think is a mistake. I think the Democrats are wrong on that. But we'll open up the rest of that, and then we're going to have to figure out how to finish opening up the ICE and Border Patrol. I couldn't imagine having some kind of terrorist incident while we're going through this government gridlock. It's not right. And by the way, a lot of people think that ICE and Border Patrol are funded through the reconciliation bill. They were partially, but all the support people are not being paid. If you're a secretary, for example, at ICE, you're not being paid. So we got to fix this as well. But yes, we will open up 99% of the Homeland Security, but we got more work to do.
All right. So speaking of bills big and beautiful, there's talk of doing another round of reconciliation. The idea seems to be that could include some or all of the White House's $1.5 trillion Pentagon request. But there's also a $200 billion supplemental appropriation, defense supplemental, that would replenish weapon stockpiles that we've used up in the Iran war. We are going to see more war powers resolutions, I know, probably as soon as this week. But basically, if the administration can get a vote to fund the war, does it have a vote to authorize the war?
I'm not sure if we have the votes to authorize future combat operations in Iran, for that matter, Venezuela. I personally support the operations in Iran. We have to realize we were at war with them for 47 years. So they were at war with us for 47 years. They killed roughly 1,000 Americans. Some of them were my friends. And you can't let a country target Americans like this with impunity. So I felt like this is like a decade overdue, and it had to be done. And Iran with a nuclear weapon is unthinkable. They have threatened to destroy Israel. They call us the big Satan. If you read some of the writings of the Ayatollah, they almost look forward to a nuclear conflict. And so this was something that had to be done. I think it's hard. And so, but back to your question, I think it'll be a tough vote. I know where I stand when it comes to Iran, that we need to finish this job. We have depleted their Air Force, depleted their Navy. They only have about 5% of their air defenses. But a country that's the regime still exists, and we already have intelligence that's been leaked, we'll just say, that Russia and China are already trying to rebuild the Iranian military. So we may have a short-term, mid-term gain here, but in the long term, with the current regime still in place, we have a threat to our country.
Okay, so on that point, so there's no grown-up person in the world who believes that Iran, however degraded, and it is definitely degraded in its capabilities, is going to abandon its ambition for nuclear weapons and to rearm itself. That's the lesson for them out of this experience so far. Reports say, and you allude to this, that China is already streaming new weapons into Iran, including shoulder-fire missiles. The pause in hostilities works if it gets us to someplace good. But if the pause in hostilities just takes us to a rearmed Iran with increased capacity to cause havoc, then this is a bad pause.
We right now have our foot on the regime's neck. That's a fact. Now they have some leverage with the Straits of Hormuz, and that's a hard one to totally eliminate that threat. But our boot is on their neck right now, and I wouldn't let up. Unless they show willingness to quickly meet us 4/5 of the way in these negotiations, can't get probably 100%, but they need to accommodate us significantly. They have no Air Force, no Navy, 5% of their air defense. We've gone through like two of the top tiers of their leadership, and we should keep that pressure on until we get a deal that is good for the region and good for America, and also good for the Iranian people. They're the most pro-American people in the Middle East, maybe outside of Israel. They want to have human rights and their dignity back in this regime. You know, they killed roughly between 30 to 40,000 Iranians because they were protesting. They killed their champion wrestler. They're raping women who are protesting, and it's their way of browbeating the public. And so this is also important for the Iranian people. I personally don't think we have our goals met all the way unless we get a government that wants peace with America, peace with their neighbors, wants to treat their people with respect, and also does not want a nuclear weapon.
Okay, you're Mr. NATO, basically in Congress. You have been the strongest supporter I'm aware of the strong U.S.-NATO relationship. We heard another round of we're going to break up the band, and the United States is leaving, and then it came back together. How seriously do you take the strain on the NATO alliance right now?
Very seriously, and it really bothers me. This is the best alliance in the history of mankind, as far as I can tell. It preserved the peace with the Soviet Union, and now it's what we need is allies that help us deter Russia while we're also dealing with China and we're dealing with Iran. We can't do it all by ourselves. There's a bit of a go it alone mindset in Washington, D.C. right now, and it's segments of the Republican Party. And I'll tell you, going it alone means America is weaker. And our NATO friends, they're democracies, they're free markets. They're not perfect, but neither are we. But we're better served when we partner with them. Great Britain's been a great ally. Going back to World War II. And Canada just said this week they're not going to buy any more American weapons. They have bought the F-18. They were going to buy the F-35. Spain is going to China to do trade deals. And you got to peel the onion back. Why is this? I do think there's some blame to go on both sides. So this is not 100-0. But when you're the president of the United States, the most powerful country in the world, the leader of NATO, and you say you want to make Canada the 51st state, that's going to cause problems. And when you say you want to take Greenland one way or the other way, and the force is on the table, that's going to cause problems. And I know many of the prime ministers and presidents. I know almost all the ambassadors from NATO, the NATO countries. That caused grave harm. The trust has been, is it broken? Well, it's seriously under tremendous amounts of strain right now. It's going to take a while to rebuild this.
They're going to make me take a commercial break, but I'm not going to leave this interview before I ask you a distasteful but important question. Eric Swalwell is now on a growing list of your House colleagues facing serious ethical allegations. An expulsion resolution is teed up for him on Monday. But there's also talk now about a package deal in which Swalwell, along with his fellow Democrat, Sheila Shafilius McCormick, apologies. She's being prosecuted for financial corruption. And then there are these two Republicans, Corey Mills and Tony Gonzalez, both of whom have been accused of some real heinous action by women in their lives. How does the House proceed? Could you see some sort of package 2-for-2 deal where they can throw everybody out?
Probably the only way that there will be folks removed from Congress will be in pairs. With a 2-seat majority, neither side's going to want to, unilateral disarm. So I think it will probably be done in pairs. And I'd like to let the Ethics Committee give us solid feedback before we do this. But to answer your question, probably the only way there will be people kicked out of Congress will be done if it's one from both sides at a time. The
high price of narrow majorities. Congressman, we thank you. Okay, America, if you were an Omaha resident getting ready to welcome the WVU Mountaineers baseball team to the College World Series, you would know him already. But if you don't, there he is, Congressman Don Bacon. We thank you.